everyone. Raevedis here. So recently, Tim contacted me asking me if he can send me some questions for me to answer um, for this educational video about Galdra and runic magic that he's putting together. And I thought, why not? So he sent me these questions like a few days ago, and I didn't have time to go through them before today. So I just kind of like read through them real quick, and I thought I would sit down and just, without much preparation, just answer the questions from the top of my head to give you guys like a raw and honest answer to these questions. But before I get into that, there's a few things I just want to say. First off, I want to thank you, Tim, for the work he's doing, for engaging the community, for contacting people, asking them to participate in stuff like this, kind of like branching out, making people interact and give something back to the community out there. A lot of us are out there who are working with these things tend to get a bit shut in and become a little hermitish. I myself spend an extremely large amount of my time alone and don't really spend much time with other people, a little talking about the work that I do. So that's a cool thing that he's able to engage people this way. So thank you, Tim. Another thing, just by briefly scanning through the questions asked, there's a thing I think I need to say before I start answering. This is quite simple, and you can say it goes overall in the cult community and in the heathen community as well, that if you're doing this kind of work, the things that we're working with, runes, runic magic, and Galda, also goes for sight and other kinds of magic. If you want to get results, if you want to influence yourself, influence others, and make a change in the reality surrounding you, you need to have absolute confidence in your work. This is paramount for what we're doing. You can spend a lot of time researching, and you can accumulate a lot of knowledge, but you will still end up like, if you can spend 20 years studying the Eddas, the sagas, old manuscripts, Skuggebøger, Cyprianusar, Icelandic manuscripts, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of old grimoires, doing all kinds of stuff, getting a grasp of the Icelandic magic, of Scandinavian folk magic, trolldomskunst, and so forth. But if you don't have confidence in what you're doing, it's still not gonna work. Now another guy can walk in with practically little to none knowledge of the underlying historic value of these things and get great results simply by having true confidence in his work. So it's important, and I can't overstate this, that if you want results, you have to be confident in yourself, confident in your work. A lot of people try to fake this. You will see a lot of people boasting their abilities, bragging, and so forth. This is usually a sign that people are insecure about what they're doing, and they have a need to express security outwards towards others to get that sense of recognition and a feeling that they're doing something right. But usually that kind of behavior stems from insecurity. So don't be those guys. Be secure, be able to rest in yourself and feel secure about your work and be able to rest in the work you're doing. Don't be judgmental about others. There's so many different ways of approaching this kind of work. There's so many historic venues to look at. There's so many branches, so many ways that this can go. It's such an individual practice. So please bear in mind confidence in your work and yourself. So here I am lecturing and rambling. I'm really good at rambling. You're gonna get used to that by listening to me for a while. And also I tend to say fucking shit a lot, so I hope that's not a problem. If it is, then fuck. So let's get to the questions. Oh, and I recently got myself a mobile phone. I haven't had one of these for years. Kind of handy little thing. Ooh. I also have Danish Blandvin I made myself, and I think I'll have a little sip of that. Blandvin med bacon. Oh, by all means, while I am at it. So a cigarette. I don't usually smoke indoors, only when I'm drinking. So when I need a cigarette, I tend to drink. Let's get into the questions. So Tim asks me, is there a certain order one should learn or study the runes in? I was told of a specific order to study or meditate on. The quick answer, no. There isn't really any particular way that you should learn the runes. There is a logical way, logical approach to learning about runes, depending on what your goals are. If you really want to study runes and not just learn to use them for divination or some other kind of new age thing, I would advise you to go back and look at history. Go to the dry academic study of the runes. Look at historical findings, how they were used and how they evolved through Europe and branched out into over time into the younger Futhark, and we have like the Anglo-Saxon runes, and we have the Scandinavian, and the Danish, Swedish, Norwegian, and Icelandic runes, and all sorts of different kinds of runes that spread out through Europe and evolved over time. I would definitely say that if you want to like build a good understanding of the runes, that is where to start. And once you got that basic understanding and perhaps started learning, like most people start learning the Elder Futhark first, start just learning writing your name with it or whatever, and then start understanding the meaning of each rune. You don't have to take it in a particular order. If you ask me, you're gonna run into people that are gonna say otherwise, that are gonna tell you that you have to start at a certain point and end at a certain point and do it in a certain way and meditate in a certain way and blah 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 blah. That is bullshit in my book. It's fine that people do it like that. If you want to like walk a particular dogmatic spiritual path in this, then by all means go ahead. There will be certain things that you need to take care of and be aware of if you want to be strict to that and stay true to that. But in my book, that is ridiculous. Follow your own instincts and your own feelings. If you want to start in the middle of like the second tier, learning some of the runes there, then by all means do that. Like, take the ones that feels most appealing to you and start learning those, using those in some manner, and go from there. That kind of answers that question, though, doesn't it? Look at the next question that Tim sent me. So, I'm gonna go up here. What futhark set do you prefer to use, and the reasons why? Well, I prefer to use Danish Rooms. Quite obviously, because I am from Denmark. I live in Jylland, Jutland, Denmark, and I speak Danish and Yiddish accent. And the Danish Runes fit perfectly to this, especially to Yiddish accent. And I tend to write a lot of my work, my esoteric work, in Yiddish dialect with Danish Runes, because it just fits perfectly to it, and it's close to home, so it feels good. That's basically it. Now, that being said, like using the runes, I don't do divination in runes. I don't use runes for runic divination. I do use it for magic and for creating magical formulas, runic formulas, and I do occasionally do bind runing, but other than that, I don't use like small wooden bricks that I toss around for divination. I let other people do that. That's fine, but I don't care much for it. Next question. Can using or creating galdrastafir have a negative effect on an uneducated practitioner? For example, I know you can create curses and unfavorable outcomes and so on. This is part of the reason for this educational video. What things should you be careful about? Well, in this community, you're gonna run into a lot of people when you like start showing off your work. That's gonna point you at Egil Saka and gonna say like, be careful what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, it could be harmful. To some extent, this is correct, but it does not, in my mind, particularly have to do with the runes themselves. This could be any kind of magic. It comes down to what I started talking about, the confidence in your work. Now, if you don't have a confidence in what you're doing, if you start doubting yourself, even on a subconscious level, have the slightest doubt in what you're doing, you're gonna bring in the risk of failure. The more doubt you have in your work, and this be on a conscious or a subconscious level, the more it's gonna like impact on the work, and the work is gonna falter and it's gonna fail. Don't let other people bring you down. Don't let other people's ideas of feel insecure in your work make you insecure in it yourself. And don't fake security. Don't fake that you are secure about what you're doing. Don't fake your trust in it. Don't lie to yourself, because the moment you lie to yourself, you're lying to everyone. So be sure that you are 100% absolutely secure about what you're doing. If you're not, then don't do it. Go study some more, get good, don't do stuff that you're uncertain about. Not because it's the runes, or not because it's super dangerous, it's because you're gonna disappoint yourself, and you're gonna disappoint others. And of course you could lie yourself out of this if you're like one of these people that needs the recognition of your work. You could of course fake it, but it's gonna like leave you empty and hollow inside, so don't do it. Be secure about what you're doing and do it right. Basically my advice. Next question from Tim. How important is it to have a direction of force or target for the intended symbol? I have heard that you must direct or focus the energy to somewhere, otherwise it can cause problems. Is this true? Well, unless you're like sitting down and just drawing magical sigils for fun, for your own entertainment. I can't really see how you can do or use symbols without a focus or a target. Even if you're doing it for fun, that is kind of like a target or an objective in itself. I don't believe that drawing down a particular nasty galdrastafir on a piece of paper is gonna affect you in any way, unless of course you do something that make you believe or make your conscious and thereby your subconscious mind ask questions, beginning to like believe that something might happen. So you can run into people that tell you like doing this kind of work, drawing these sigils, you're gonna break out the devil, like some evil thing is come by and eat you while you sleep. This is not gonna happen. But you could like start walking down that alleyway if your mind starts believing that that might happen. And you might start seeing things out the corner of your eye. You might start getting afraid. You might start getting anxiety and so forth. You're bringing that onto yourself. Again, uncertainty. If you're not certain about your work, if you're not confident in your work, you're going to bring in insecurity, and that will bring other bad things with it. So again, don't do things if you feel that it's a bad idea or you're not certain about it. Next question from Tim. Binding or destroying talismans or sigils and symbols. I've heard that it is necessary in some cases. When should you destroy or bind a creation, and what is the reasons for this? If you do talisman work and amulets and stuff like that, I would say if the magic has reached its purpose, the talisman has fulfilled what it was brought to this world to do, then it is time to get rid of it again, like part with it. We know from historical galdrastafir and magic staves and formulas like that turned into talismans, that there is a tradition for doing it in wood, on paper, on other destructible materials. If it was a talisman that you knew was going to serve a short goal, like a short-sighted goal, something in that would be fulfilled, and it would serve this purpose, and then you could burn it or toss it in a river or something like that to destroy it. Bury it in the backyard. Well, not your own backyard, in the neighbors. Don't ever bury stuff in your own backyard unless it has a good purpose. And again, sometimes you might create stuff that will last forever, a lifetime. You might give it on to like a student or pupil or your children, and it will pass on and get generations. But basically, when something has served its purpose, get rid of it. And this goes with all things in life. You know, if you acquire yourself a book that you don't like, or you read it and you don't think you're gonna read it again, or it's shit, and you don't want to pass it on to anyone, get rid of it. If you get a movie or buy like a DVD or a CD that sucks, get rid of it. Find someone who might like it, give it to them instead. Get rid of shit in your life that doesn't have any meaning to you or doesn't serve a purpose. Next question from Tim. Invocation of gods or deities. Are there a set of galdrastafir or bind runes that you can use specifically to invoke certain gods, goddesses, or is there a more personalized creation that we can all customize? Yes, and yes. There is certain sigils, galdrastafir, bind runes, and so forth, created, both modern and historical, to communicate, summon, or in other ways work with certain deities or gods or goddesses. And yes, you can also create these on a custom level to suit your own personal needs. Um, Simple enough to answer. Let's take the next question. Let's see. Have you ever had any strange experiences or presence in your many rituals? I have done a handful of rituals and things, and once in a while I will get like this overwhelming feeling, like goosebumps all over, and a tingling sensation. But it's very brief and only lasts a few seconds. Have you ever had any strange or awesome experiences that you want to share? Well, yes, I had several. I've been working with these kinds of things for quite a number of years now, and I would say um, I had a lot of experiences in the early years while I was working with magic, like over 10, 20 years ago, and where I had that, like the hair was standing up in the back of my neck or on my arms, and I would get that slight feeling of something going on. But it wasn't until I really started to diving into meditation, trance states, and that kind of stuff that I really started experiencing odd stuff. Especially performing udsidninger, utsitter, where I would go and sit out in the forest. I would go by sundown, and I would find a particular nice place in the secluded place in the forest of Roll. That is a huge forest near here. And I would sit like on a mound or by a huge old oak tree all the way through the night until the sun came up the next morning. This is like the best way, in my opinion, to do an utsitter, and the way it should be performed if you're serious about it. I would take like a skin with me to sit on and pass a blanket to hold over me, so I wouldn't freeze too much, depending on the weather. Now, my favorite time of year for doing these kind of things are actually now during fall, during autumn, and I have tried like going out there and sitting down, and I usually don't close my eyes or cover my face. I kind of like stare into the trees and like see the silhouettes of the needle trees against the sky, um, and kind of like let myself dive into that as it gets darker and darker. But there always remains this vague silhouette of the trees, and the movement of the trees, and perhaps the stars, and sometimes the moon and the sky and so forth. But I have been trying, like once I was sitting out there, and you always hear like they'll start like being rustling sounds, like there'll be animals, there could be deer, badgers, rabbits, hares, foxes, and so forth, moving around in the forest. And to begin with, you'll be like startled by these, and then you'll get used to it. Well, I was sitting out there one time, one of the first time I really went into doing this hardcore wood sitting, and I would hear these large thumpy sounds somewhere behind me in the forest, and I would hear like tree trunks like crackling, and I was like thinking to myself, holy fucking shit, there is a huge massive troll somewhere behind me walking through the forest. I was scared shitless. I was so close to running, like just getting up, gathering my shit and run away, but I didn't. I stayed put, and I looked up at the sky as I do, and it wasn't there. I couldn't see anything. It was like there was this huge massive blockage of me in front of me, like I couldn't see past it. It was just pitch black, like something was standing really close to me, and I started like feeling this pulsating thing not very far from me. It was like it was really close to me, and I could almost like sense something breathing, looking at me, and I was scared shitless. and I have tried this a few times with these overwhelmingly huge figures showing up. I also see things out of the corner of my eye sometimes, like small things moving around and stuff like that. This doesn't really freak me out, but these huge things, they freak me out. And one thing to note, a personal note of mine, is when this happens, it's gonna go away. It's like just gonna fade away. It's just gonna like disappear slowly, like it's disintegrating. And afterwards, something small and insignificant, or seemingly insignificant, is gonna happen, and that kind of always carries a great meaning with it. I have found out, at least for me, and it could be all sorts of things, but something small and insignificant is gonna happen, and I have to be aware of it, and I have to interpret it, and it's gonna have an impact on my life. I'm gonna take like a short break, and I'll get back answering the rest of the questions. Hi everyone, so I'm back. Let's continue with these questions from Tim. So Tim asks, so why do you work with the runes, and what do they do for you? Well, I work with the runes because it is an integral. It is a part of what I do. It's a part of the tradition that I tap into. I have grown up in Denmark. I'm Danish of origin, and my interests are in Danish history and Danish folk magic and historic magic. So tapping into runes is kind of like second nature to that. And it gives me several things. It gives me a platform, a system to work with that is separate from the common reality of every day. Because I'm working in a different system of writing that has a deeper meaning to it than traditional writing, modern writing. I do also tend to do magic in modern constructs from time to time, but working with the runes just bears so much more weight with it, and has so much more power behind it, and that means a lot to me. So yeah, let's check out the next question from Tim. Gonna smoke again. Oh fuck. I forgot. I only smoke when I'm drinking. So better drink some more. Oh, that's good. Let's see what Tim wrote to me. Next question. So, do you believe that the runes have such deep meaning and layers that they could possibly evolve? Like the runes are nature, or connected with anyway. So as nature and our consciousness and knowledge of the world evolves, our understanding of the runes would evolve and have a complex meaning, more complex meaning as well. Do you agree? Well, the runes have always been evolving from the time that the runes was invented by man. They have been evolved by man. It was a constant evolution while the runes were in actual use in historic times, and the usage of the runes changed a lot over time and through history. And we ended up in the Middle Ages having where the runes was kind of like laid to rest, to give way to modern writing. The runes carried on into magic often, and the more esoteric stuff out there. Of course, it was also prior to that used for magic, and we do have examples of bind runes and stuff like that. But we get, like, especially when you go into to late Middle Ages and you look into Målruner, Lønruner, all these kinds of Trollruner and stuff like this. They get like a really deep esoteric meaning to them. All these kinds of glyphs that were used in magic. So yeah, I feel like even today, like we had, like, you could say the runes had like a new rebirth in the form of modern esotericism and New Age, up through the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. Even before that, we have like the runes coming into play again with its symbolism and its deeper meaning. And a lot of people have picked up on this over the years, and this is why we have stuff like runic divination, where people throw around with bricks and stuff. A lot of these things are modern constructs that have evolved. If you look again at stuff like the galdrastafir, the graphical galdr, we know from Icelandic manuscripts, most of them. These are clearly, like, a lot of people have like this misconception that this is a Viking Age phenomenon, but it's not. It is a more modern thing. It's actually inspired by Renaissance magic, and it has you can see by studying Icelandic graphical galdr and European galdr, that Scandinavian, that it evolves. It gets more complex, it gets more complicated. You can see that especially in the Icelandic galdrastafir, how they get really complex at some point. So there is a constant evolution, and in modern present day work with this, work myself are doing, and other people are also working with this the system of magic with the graphical galdr. You can see we are evolving on it. There's happening a lot of things. A lot of people are grasping backwards in time, taking systems, perfecting them, or finding some broken pieces, putting them together, or making up whole new systems on their own. And you could argue that some of it might not be authentic or whatever, but if it bears meaning, and if it functions for people, and if it has like a functionality out there, then by all means, like, I tend personally to like to have a sturdy foundation in the work that I do. I do tend to firmly place my work on my knowledge of especially Yiddish folk magic and folk traditions, and folklore, and also in the Scandinavian, Old Norse, and these things. I tend to want to have a sturdy foundation there, but there's a lot of gaps in this, in the magic, and there's a lot of things that we don't know how they did back in the day. So we have to fill in these gaps, and there's all kinds of ways people are going about this. So some things have changed, some things that people are experimenting and so forth, and I think this has always been the case, and it will hopefully always be the case. Some people are opposed to this. They only want to deal with reconstructive magic, and they only want to like stay within a certain time period, work within like the Viking Age or the Iron Age or whatever. Well, then graphical galdr is not for you, my friend, because that is a much later thing. So yeah, I think that answers the question. Let's go to the next question Tim sent me. So, can you explain a simple or basic formula to create a galdrastafir? Like for example, I use Old Norse text or literature, plus letters of a person's name in the runes, plus intentions. Are there any simple formulas you care to share with us? No, I can't. It would take a really long time to go through in detail how I do most of my work, and it's very personalized and it's very complex. But I can break it down, I guess, into a few steps. I did this before. You kind of have like the first initial step, that is the creation or the gathering of what you need to put together. So you're gonna start out with an intention or a target of some kind of thing that you wanna do, you wanna create and set forth, or change the world, or change in someone. So you're gonna look out and you're gonna find the components you need to put together a construct that can deal with this, that can do what you want it to do. This is this is the most complex part of the creation process, is finding these things and figuring out how to make them work together. Once you have like all these things, like it's like the parts you need to build a functional car or a computer. Once you have all these things together, it can be really complex or it can be really simple. Then you go on to a like a design phase where you put these things together in a balanced way, or an unbalanced way if that's what's needed. But basically you draw it up and you keep working with it, trying to balance it out, make it look and feel good. That takes a while. With practice you can do this quicker. If you have an understanding of what you're doing, you can do this pretty quick sometimes. And once you're like satisfied with like the sketch, the blueprint that you put together, then you're gonna go on to the third phase, which is actually doing the work. Like if it's a talisman, or if you're gonna paint it on a wall, or even if you're like gonna put it in your personal book of magic, get some really nice ink or a really nice pencil or paintbrush, or whatever you're gonna work with. Make sure that you get some good quality stuff to do that with. Do the best work you can do when you finalize your sigil or your galdra. Don't just take like a squared piece of paper and a pencil and do it quickly and that's it, because it looks like shit and it's not gonna speak to you on the level, or speak to others on the level that you're gonna want it to. Try and put some effort into it. You don't have to be Picasso or anything, but you put as much effort into it as you're able to, and do the best job you can do. Put your time and into it. I usually refer to this as excrementing my brain, because what I'm doing in this phase of the work is I'm really getting into it. I'm really getting into the design of it. I'm really working it, like fucking making love to the sigil. I might use some of my blood. There might be some ritual involved. I might be singing vocal galdra, invoking something into it. And while I'm doing this, I'm also kind of like shitting out my brain. I'm getting rid of all the stuff that got stuck in my head during the design phase and the blueprint phase of the creation of this galdrastafir, and I'm flushing it. I'm flushing it through the work I'm doing and getting rid of it. And that is a very important part for me personally. The people who know about how chaos magic functions will recognize this as what I'm doing is I'm actually going into the gnosis state of it. And here I'm working on an instinctive level where it just flows. I reach that state of gnosis. And usually when I'm done, I'm gonna go like, it's done, I'm gonna put it away, I'm gonna go outside, take a walk with the dog, or walk 10 times around the house, or um, go take a shower, or sometimes do something really aggressive. Hear really loud death metal or something, just fucking clear my brain, and then I'm kind of gonna go back to it and take a look at it, and it should be so that I totally forgotten the design phase. I would of course have notes if I need to go back and look at something. I would have it in my notes, but it should be out of my conscious mind, and I'll be looking at this piece of graphical galder that is speaking to me on a subconscious level. And I know if it's right or if it's wrong at that point, if I need to redo it. So that's kind of like the steps I usually go through. Look at the next question. So do you use galdrastafir or sigils in your daily environments, like at work or public places? And have you ever had crazy outcomes? Well, yeah, I do that pretty much every day, and I've done so for many years. I have, at my workplace, I work as a graphic designer, and I work with marketing and stuff. And at my office, at my desk, I have like several talismans littered around that acts like kind of like fidget things for my fingers and for my mind, and it has like the different talisman have like a purpose depending on what kind of work I'm doing at the moment. At home, I have like protection at my front door. I have put stuff in place to ensure that I don't get any clogged drains. I have all kinds of things here also that is like based on graphical galder or other kinds of magic. And even out in public, I have that someone had been out in the forest, had taken some pictures of some trees with some strange looking symbols on them, and sent them to me, asked me, do you know anything about this? And of course I said no, but yeah, I did. I do leave stuff outside in public places sometimes. I tend to go out and work in the forest or in nature where people do come during daytime hours, and sometimes they do stumble upon some of my leftovers and go, what the fuck has been going on here? It kind of amuses me. But and yeah, it has outcomes. Stuff happens when I tinker with certain talismans that I have designed myself to fit certain purposes. It serves its purpose. I do see the functionality of the protection I put at my front door. It does actually work. And sometimes I use particular amulets to attract something, and it shows up. Like things for me pretty much work as I intend them to. It didn't always be like this. Like when I was more uncertain about the work I was doing, I was more experimental on a basis where I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. I sometimes had some really weird outcomes of stuff, and some really unexpected things happening. But in general, I pretty much get what I want from magic. Let's see if we have more questions from Tim. So this last one is just a free topic. How have you been? Life has changed greatly for you, and you seem to be on a totally new level now. Can you tell us a bit about what you've been up to and your book release? I'm sure you're sick of that question. Yeah, a lot of people are asking me about the book release, and it is coming. It has been delayed over a year now, and there's a good reason for it. So last year and the beginning of this year, my personal life was getting kind of not good. I went through a divorce with my ex-wife, and it was a thing that had been looming on the horizon for quite a while. And we got through it, and without anyone getting too hurt, and went our separate ways. But this put me in a situation where I had to move because me and my ex-wife had a farm together, and I had to find somewhere else to live. And I ended up getting a flat close to where I work. Basically, I got to work and I talked to my boss about this, and he was like, "Well, we have like this storage room in the building next door that we own, and it's not being used. It has like a toilet and a kitchen. You could like empty it for the storage that is there, and renovate it, and you can move in and use that." So this is where I'm sitting now. So yeah, I went here, and it was like the guys who had been using this before apparently was like they use it as a depot for secondhand stuff that was to be sold in a secondhand shop somewhere, and they abandoned it. So there was like boxes upon boxes of books. There was like fucking 20 coffee machines in here. I don't know how many stereos, boxes with VHS tapes, old toys, teddy bears, bags and bags of clothes, old furniture, chairs, tables, sofas, all kind of shit. It was stacked to the ceiling. There was an old car in here. I found a fucking car. There was doors and the whole part except the fucking engine was the only thing not there. There was so much shit. It took forever to get out of here and drive it off to the landfill. And once that was done, the kitchen looked like something that was fucking out of Breaking Bad. So I tore it on down, and the whole thing was renovated. And the toilet, bathroom, everything got tossed and new put in. I got some help doing a lot of this, painting and stuff, but a lot of the stuff I also did myself. Like the old carpet in the living room was glued to the floor, like all over the place. It took me nearly, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks to get it off, to put in a new carpet. And I had to like lie new floor tiles in the bedroom and in the other rooms here, and it took me quite a while. So I went onto my Patreon site and my Facebook, and I kind of just explained what was going on, saying that like I will be back and I will try and keep doing stuff as good as I can. I'm not grabbing at invisible things like a mosquito. And telling people that I'll get back as soon as I get settled, and well, now I'm settled. And everything is settled, basically. The thing with the farm, my ex-wife got settled. Everything at my job is going really well, and I got everything fixed up in here. And I also, over this amount of month and this year, fell in love. I found something really special in my life, someone that really filled the void in me. Someone not living in Denmark, so I had to go abroad to initially meet this person, and it went over all expectation, and we're gonna continue it from here, and we're gonna see where it carries on. But it's something really special to me, and it has touched me and changed me very much on a deep level. So yeah, there's been a shitload of stuff going on. Regarding the book, I have finished the final chapter of the book, and basically what I'm missing doing right now is a few illustrations, and we have a little tweaking on the editing side, and that's basically it. But yeah, I know it's been a long time in the works, and I know a lot of people has been feeling that I've been drawing this up forever. But in my opinion, it has to be done correctly. I can't jabber through it. It has to be done right. And if I'm not in the mindset to do it, and if there's other things that is more important, I'm gonna take care of those things first because I want that book, the concept of that book, to be fucking just right. It's not a thing I'm doing to get a lot of money. It's not a thing I'm doing to get a lot of fame. It's a thing I'm doing because it needs to be done. In my opinion, it needs to be done correctly. And I've been giving a lot of support from people. A lot of people have given me support and helped me being able to do this. I've been going through some really hard times financially and um, at a point emotionally. There's been a lot of people out there that supported my work, that really helped me out, and a few people that really supported me closely on a personal level. You guys know who you are. So yeah, a lot of things going on, but I'm all settled now, and I'm back at doing what I'm best at, I think, which is I'm basically working with Galdr on a daily basis now, and I want to get back to doing YouTube videos, video production, I have some things in the working, and some more artwork on top of the Galdr I'm doing, and probably some audio projects and some writing. So a lot of things in the works right now, but most important thing is getting the large things in the book done, and it's gonna be really soon. I know I said this 1,000 times. People are probably sick of hearing it. Don't worry, it's coming. I'm not giving up. So yeah, that was all the questions, I think. I hope this has been useful. Once again, I want to say thank you to Tim for doing this. It's awesome, and I hope you guys got something out of this. Feel free to go to my page. I'm sure Tim will be kind enough to link to it, and you can send me questions if you have any. I'll try and answer them. There might be sometimes a delay on my answering people because I am pretty busy, but I do tend to do my best now to get back to people. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and catch you soon.